Hi, welcome to the Ravi Joseph podcast. I'm Ravi Joseph, and I'm here with Adriana Colotti Comel. Adriana Colotti Comel is a first-time author, sociologist, ceramicist, practitioner, and teacher of energy psychology. Passionate about spiritual journeying and poetry writing, she loves to build bridges of light with others for a more enlightened life. She lives in Mexico City and is devoted to her soul development as an artist of possibility as she continues to articulate and share her discoveries of higher dimensions. Welcome, Adriana. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Ravi. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Um, so my first question is, you wrote a book called Bridges of Golden Light.
Mhm.
So would you be willing to tell us what are these bridges of golden light that you refer to? Because as I was reading it, I noticed there are there's several layers of meaning, it seems, this idea of bridges of golden light. So I wonder if you could talk to us about some of those meanings.
Oh, totally. Thank you. Thank you for the question. And yes, Bridges of Golden Light, it was kind of a bridged revelation that it came through my spiritual work. Being an energy worker, calibrating energy for more than 20 years, doing the EMF balancing technique, that was kind of, it became a style of life. Then I was giving the individual sessions, forming practitioners. I became a teacher of teachers of the technique. And I totally uh, loved the energy work and the calibration process that meant the energy work. And so um, at some point, after having been with the international group of the EMF balancing technique uh, in Sedona, Arizona, and working with the creator of the technique, translating her, Peggy Phoenix Dubrow, and traveling with her all over the world, basically in the Spanish speaking countries, because I translated all the manuals and everything. And so I came back to Mexico, and I presented to the university the program, because we had beautiful manuals and at a university level, to teach it. And uh, I started to work also with Barbara Marx Hubbard online, and doing all, I was starting to bridge the work of energy that I was doing, of calibration of energy. I was starting to bridge it with the work of conscious evolution of Barbara Marx Hubbard. By the way, there is where I met and dived more into Sri Aurobindo and the mother, because Barbara Marx Hubbard loved very much all of that. And that makes me think about your book also. And so, and we worked very close together with Barbara. I even translated the 52 codes of conscious evolution that she wrote into Spanish. I translated it. You can find it on Amazon. Anyways, the thing is that I realized, working with her, that I was bridging the work of the EMF with the energy work with the conscious evolution of Barbara. And that meant a bridging of golden light. And at some point, I wanted Barbara and Peggy, the creators, to meet together, because I said, oh my God, that makes so much sense to me. And then I realized that it was me, the one that needed to do that bridge, because it was so clear to me. And so from there, it started my method of bridging the light. And so I started my method of bridges of golden light as modules of 12 sessions. The first 12 sessions were the EMF balancing technique, properly the energy work of that technique. But then I started to bridge it and to build other modules that were the bridge I was doing. And so I kind of, it dawned on me that what was happening is that I was the bridge of light. And that kind of was the experience and what I saw I was doing. And so I said, oh my God. And that kind of brought me to, after a little while and after some modules that I continued to do for my practice with clients and giving the sessions and bridging and doing that kind of session work, one-on-one and on groups. And then it became obvious that I was developing and building bridges with others. Then, and so it strengthened. And it brought me to revisit with Sean Randall. Sean Randall, many years before that, had taught me on how to channel. And so I already was doing the channeling process more than a blending that now we can go more into what I call blending. And I was doing that work. And so I revisited with her and with Tora, that's what she channels. And so it's a beautiful angel and an expanded consciousness, and she's a trance channel. And so I went back to her. I took a course for channeling, like the next step for it. And it is then when it became very clear that what I was channeling or blending with were these frequencies of golden light that were talking to me, and that I establish in the blending a dialogue, a dance with these energies. I had a practice of journaling forever and of every day, and so it reflected on my journaling of every day, this dialogue I was having with the frequencies of golden light. And that continued to develop in a very natural and beautiful way until now, and continues to develop and has kind of brought me to kind of understand that I am a bridge of light, that my modules are bridging the light with the divine and with my co-creators on a horizontal level, and that is basically forming a method of work that I do with the bridges of golden light, and that there are 6 modules now of bridges of golden light, each module with 12 sessions that we can do online, an individual way or in a group way, depending on what we're doing. And so that's what, and now I continue to build these bridges of light. I am of golden light, because I am with Jeff on the mystery, Jeff Carrera in the mystery school, that it beautifully went into meditation with him and helped me to develop all the spiritual poetry, inspired me with his guided meditations. And so all of this spiritual poetry came more clearly. I continued with the journaling. And so I built that bridge of golden light with the meditation, and that developed in another module of Bridge of Light that I was offering for clients to work with, just to deepen on the empowerment and spiritual growth for clients and for others. And so it has been really, and it continues to develop like that. And it goes hand in hand with my spiritual life. I mean, even the latest one that has been, again, a course with Susan Coleman that is also in the mystery school, but she kind of focuses the awakening of the soma and bridges the work of the soma with the energy work and with the awakening work. That was another thing that I needed and went into it doing a year-long program with her. And what happened there is the same thing. I started to build the bridge of golden light for myself first, and then, of course, wanting to offer it and to share it, so that in all my sessions and in all my energy work that I offer, there's always this bridge between the energy session and the bridge I'm building and expanding depending on. And so that's amazing,
Yeah,
because those are the bridges of light that are continuing. And yes, it's a whole universe.
that's it's fascinating how there's so many different meanings to this idea of bridges of golden light. There's the bridging of the different traditions of thought, the different teachers you've worked with, the bridging of yourself as this connector of people and ideas and disciplines, and then the bridges of energy you're building. I was curious also when reading the book, because you've worked with so many of these different spiritual traditions. You mentioned shamanism in the book, you mentioned Buddhism in the book, Buddhist meditation, then the work with the different energy practitioners. How do you think about all these different spiritual traditions interrelating to each other? Do they have natural commonalities, or do you have to kind of do put in work to draw the connections, or do they kind of fall together naturally for you?
Well, I can read that to you. Here I have the book, of
Mm,
course, it's always with me.
mm,
And so one of the things that I even selected that on page 171. I
mm,
want this little piece because it's an answer of what you asked me. And
mm,
generally, that happens to me with the book. It happens that, oh, here it is, here's the answer. And I
mm.
even don't remember and go and look, and it's there. Here it says, tapestry of life. There is a tapestry of my multidimensional ways through all my life. The way of the shaman, the way of the energy worker, the way of the Buddhist meditator, with creative flows of practices that interweave all along. The practice of the sociologist, the practice of the artist with theater, ceramics, writing, the practice of the creator, writer, new paradigm shifter, and cultural creative, and with the vision and the practice as the content and the context all along. And so now I want to read the poem that comes after that, because I weave, as you saw, poetry, storytelling, blending. In this case, it's called The Journey of the Soul, the Beginning. As a bridge of golden light that comes from the center of divinity and radiates through as a spark to a lifetime that is a small dot of the infinite fireworks that come from beyond into this reality and happens to have a name. We meet on the bridge of light that spans between the worlds, tracing the spark in infinity, multiple universes, galaxies, and stars, as a shooting star in reverse, up and down the Milky Way, jumping dimensions, dancing with the stars. The soul tickles with joy, the heart smiles, The flickering flame of a candle moves with the wind of time, drums as heartbeats in a huge circle at the bottom of the valley around the sacred fire, in loving anticipation of the journey of the soul together. So that's, I don't know if this answers your question, but I think that's how I live it through. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Um, so um, just thinking about exactly what that was one of the passages that I was thinking of when you mentioned all these different ways of being that you have, the shaman, the sociologist, the Buddhist, the energy worker. So to take, for example, shamanism and Buddhism, were there any specific commonalities you saw between those two um, disciplines, or did they?
Oh, totally, totally. The bridge.
Yeah,
You're
what
asking me
was the
about the
bridge that you
bridge
built between those?
between
Yeah,
shamanism and Buddhism, for
yeah.
example. Of course, because at the end, all paths take you to the one,
Mm,
to the source. Uh, the way they are different paths, but bridges of golden light. And so it's kind of like, let me see if, because I bridge the dimensions, it's different dimensions. There's another little one that, a little piece that helps to explain this. It says, bridging dimensions. That's what I do between the shamanism and the Buddhism, or depending on what I'm working with. And so communicating higher truths into everyday language, being the bridge. It is a co-creation process. Using the bridge as dialogue, you become the universal human and bring that knowledge into daily life from the light, in the light, for the light. In relational experiences, you learn to make bridges of light as building blocks from your independence towards others' independence to be able to create healthy interdependence. Light and dark chords of our most close archetypical relationships play out in this plane and challenge us to access our expansiveness, our multidimensionality, our soul qualities for an awakening of humanity with intergalactic intelligence, for energetic exchanges to happen for the greater good of all involved. As the bridge of golden light, I have always been a shining light, showering onto very dark, twisted situations and hard revelations. Generally, sessions with clients in which they choose to grow or not. In real life, things are either solved or not, depending on the willingness of recognizing what is. So I can identify my earlier period of shamanism and the participation in that, and I was totally 100% dedicated to those practices. Then, in another period in my life, afterwards, what happened is that I went into the Zen Buddhism with Roshi Philippe Kapleau, that brought the Rinzai tradition of Zen to the West. He was in Japan and he brought it, and so for more than 10 years, I worked being a disciple of Roshi Philippe Kapleau, depending on the Rochester Zen Center and being the leader of Casa Zen in Mexico. And I also dedicated 100% to that. So the bridge was kind of cooking in me, depending on what was the process that I was going through life. It's not that the shamanism was left behind. No, it's just that I integrated all the experiences and like in my evolutionary process. And so there's a melding of all these experiences and all these practices into the bridges of golden light. So that's what's happening. It's not that they are pieces of the puzzle that were coming together as I walked the path of my spiritual life and was finding in each phase of my life what was asked by spirit to be the next step. Because one of the things that I learned to do early was to listen, to listen to the guidance. With a very stubborn, I'm a very stubborn person with my things. And so, but I was stubborn and I always had this dialogue going on. Now I know that is with my soul. And that developed. And I was listening and I was following always that guidance. And I did all what I did because I was told to, like it was a calling. And so that's how it develops.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
I like the idea of first of all, that all paths kind of lead to the same place, but we might be called by our guidance and our experiences to specific things that we need access to at a given moment. And that's how I notice it has been for me as well, that I have a kind of main tradition um, that gives me a lot of spiritual sustenance and Sri Aurobindo, as you mentioned. But as I go along, there are different things that call to me and give a piece that my soul needs as well. Next, I was wondering if we could talk about because you mentioned the idea of doing sessions for people. Could you talk a little bit about what exactly you do in your energy work sessions, and maybe for some of the audience members that are less familiar with this idea of energy work, explain what energy work is and how you work with people in your sessions and how they benefit people?
Oh, yes, that's a huge, huge question. And I could talk forever about it.
Hmm.
But if you don't mind, kind of continuation and taking in what you're asking right now, there's another poem I would like to read about all these of the worlds. It's called The Worlds. It's how these different pieces that you just mentioned about the soul needing different kind of things or practices or inquiries that one does in life. It's called The Worlds. It says, inspired by the guided meditations, I am alive, I am electrical, I am awake. The worlds exist in me. I am the world, and I am in the world. We are co-creators of worlds. We are one. I play, I experience a continuum going in and out. The eyelids are just a veil between dimensions. The objects are alive and magic occurs, bridges between the worlds. I redecorate my spaces and discover new dimensions. My multidimensionality expands. The journey into infinite possibilities is delicious. There are no limits. Bewildered. When there is no world, there is only emptiness. It all starts with the fullness in my heart. The world exists inside of me. I open my eyes and I see the painting. It is a reminder of those worlds. The heart is whole and lives in between the sun and the moon. It wakes up creating worlds of conscious innovation. It allows effective reality building. I live knowing that the world does not exist without my experience of it. I am not separate. The world starts inside. I co-create my most enlightened life. I find my way into reality as an evolutionary emerging, expressing every day as a bridge of light. And so it is. So this is kind of the bridges between the worlds, no? And what you asked me about the sessions, I don't know if you would agree to tell me, because starting, I asked you, what did you feel about the book? And you said something very interesting to me. Would you repeat that in the way you want?
Yeah, I about the book, I was noticing that there's this spiritual energy that comes in the book, in the style and the prose of the book, and the incidents of the book, and the energies, the ideas of the book. It seemed to me to communicate a kind of spiritual energy, and that's what I really appreciated about the book.
Exactly. And that's what when you asked me about the session, and I told you that I was so thrilled that you kind of said that, because only reading the book is itself a session of energy. It's a transmission of energy. And so that's the way the energy work goes in whatever session that I do. There is that, the transmission of energy, and it is a reflection of the core energy that I am to the core energy that the person is, and there's an infinity loop back and forth, the reflection, core energy to core energy. That's really the work we do in whichever session you choose that can have specifics or more detailed kind of ways of proceeding the session. But the general, look at that. The general thing is that, you know, this reflection of core energy to core energy in another dimension. And so it is amazing what is happening now, because after I wrote the book, and if people uses the book to and gets to the end and sees that there is a method of bridges of golden light and the modules and the sessions and what I explained that there, but it can become very complex. And something magic happens around the session work and the energy work is that after I published the book, I said, oh my God, it's going to be very difficult for people to go into this exactly. What's a session and how I choose a session, or how do I book something? What's going to happen with the sessions? You know, what are the sessions? And so this is a surprise that's coming up a little later. I'm working on it now, and it's not ready to launch yet. But what happened is that I have 6 models of bridges of golden light, each with 12 specific sessions each. And guess what? When I said, okay, I'm going to do a card deck visualizing an infinity loop, like the core to core energy, literally the drawing of an infinity loop of the dialogue, of the energetic dialogue that goes on in each of the sessions. And the building of it was the title of the session matched and with the correspondence of poetry line of my first poem of the preface of the book, that is, I am the particle, I am the wave. Each line had a correspondence with each session, and 78 cards that are the same that the tarot has. I work with tarot a lot. I love it. And so there's a correspondence of each of the sessions and the poetry and the tarot card. So you will have a card deck that you can use for yourself, but that if you have read the book, if you are interested in the session, and to have this specific attention on the specific place you are in the spiritual path, in your evolutionary process, and you want to deepen on that, you can choose randomly from the deck a card, and that will be the session that you can book with me, because the universe and all the forces are confabulating for you to have that session with me, you know? And so I think it's going to be a fun thing, and it's going to easy the way into the session work with people, because if not, it's kind of very complex and very difficult. Oh my God, and where do I start, and how do I know, or what do I do, you know? And so I don't know what you think about what I just told you, but that's the way I'm planning for the energy work of the sessions later on. So,
Yeah, it's a really interesting idea of the card deck kind of being a kind of not a variation, but a kind of inspired relationally by the tarot and drawing that with the energy work. Um, so what, for example, is an issue that somebody might come into if they want to have a session, and what is the kind of product or the benefit that they might get out of a session? Um, what can they expect from that?
well, it's very customized in
Mm,
the sense that we go deep into your life,
mm,
into your specific need. That is exactly with the intention at the beginning that you ask, when you have the card deck and you say to the universe, what is it I should know? No? Or probably you have already a specific situation and you are making a more specific question. The session comes in, and that is gonna help doing the session. It's gonna calibrate your energy. Calibrate means like balance your energy, you know, like so that your energy flows naturally. And if there were blockages or shadows or things that come up in life that were affecting the natural flow of energy in your life, to be able to have clarity in what's your next step in your evolutionary process, you can dive into it and solve or step into the next evolutionary thing in your life. It
mm,
helps basically with that. So everything is game. I mean, radical inclusiveness. There's nothing that we can't work with, you know, whatever is. And the important thing is your intention of going deeper and find clarity in which is your next step in your evolutionary process.
mm,
Because each session, it's the first one or the last one, it's a circle. You can go in from wherever you want, you know, because at the end, the important thing is that you get clarity and get empowered in your own becoming a bridge of light. Because one of the things that also now in the method of the bridges of golden light is that we are all bridges of light. We are all connecting to divinity at a at a horizon.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful. I love that. At the vertical level, and then there's the horizontal level with your co-creators. This horizontal, this balanced cross there is of our energies that are in play all the time. And so you balance them in whichever session you choose, besides going deeper into your specifics, something that will be useful for you in your life and in your spiritual development. But in this great context, like energetic context.
Mm. Yeah, I like the idea of finding the next step on your evolutionary path, and it's not going to be the same for everybody. It's not going to be
It's
it
going to
might
be
depend
unique.
on on each individual's circumstances and what they might be presenting. I was also curious about how writing serves for you as a spiritual practice, because you brought up your poetry several times here and the writing of the actual book. And
Oh,
in the
yes.
book, you talk about the process of writing and journaling through the mystery school and on your own. So yeah, how does writing serve as a kind of spiritual practice and vehicle for you?
Oh my God, I have chills all over because I love that. And of course, I have been journaling for more than 30 years
Hmm.
and I continue. And I am looking in the book, where is the little thing I want to read to you about the journaling, because it's uh, this the besides the energy work, I mean, it's the second strong tool for your spiritual path, the journaling, for me. And that's something that we develop a lot in each of the sessions also,
Hmm.
because there's always that part that gets included, because it reflects. Oh my God, I'm looking here. I can find that now. But the thing is about the spiritual journaling, that there is a little thing that I want to read to you. Be patient, I'm gonna find it. So that general here, I would like to because it's an answer of what you asked. And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
what the automatic writing and the spiritual journaling does for me
Hmm.
can do for you. So at the end, in already we are in the multidimensionality chapter of the book, and it says automatic writing, spiritual journaling. Learn to love both the form and the formless. Life meeting life. From the transparent awareness of abiding in the light, you slowly come back into a denser, more fully formed physical anchored life in the body and on the planet. The density goes deep into the core of the earth, and there is light there too. It is warmer and fiery, and here we touch the dark light of the womb of the infinite self that meets the womb of planet Earth and makes it our home for now. We have lived many lives down here. Again and again, we come and go, lifetime after lifetime. We witness the evolution of nature and life meeting life when we melt into the mist of a denser, more obscure environment. Other worlds are evolving in the underground caves, and you can sense the beating of their hearts. We are all one, and it is a collective call, like a drum calling us all to take care of our home in space. The inside of these worlds is your outside, but it is not so different from the inside of your inner world. All these different spaces and shades of light are what make a beautiful tapestry of life, meeting life in wonder and awe. The newness and the discovery keep growing every moment in a continuum that never stops. Creation is a constant evolution and reshaping of different forms of life that meet. The vibrational frequencies of light on this dimension are a translucid message from beyond. There are different ways and paths for the creative illumination process of bringing the new to forming in this dimension. Generally, it has to do with the different vibrations of the energy of love. You start to listen to the subtle sounds and whispers of the soul that reflect in the body, and by grace, imagination, and feeling, start to bring out a manifestation in form of music, painting, sculpture, poems. Words are special, as there is a whole bubbling process between the world and the dimensions going on. The hand writes, and it is not you writing. It comes from a vast ocean of stillness and awareness that on the way to the page with the speed of light delineates bridges between dimensions that then show up written on a blank page. It is a weird path of wiring where the light seems to conduct itself as waves coming through and appearing as words. There is an exhilarating sensation, and it feels that it comes from the unknown, and the meaning and sense are a message from other dimensions. It is life meeting life in multidimensionality. We are going back and forth, crossing dimensions and illuminating the constant creation of worlds. So again, there is not a specific technique as of that I teach by journaling, but yes, the process of each one of the sessions and the tool of the journaling is kind of automatic writing, but that comes first from the connection that you have with your own divine. And from there you write. That's why I call it spiritual journaling. It's not whatever kind of journal, but that is inclusive because it depends really from where are you writing from. And sometimes you need to write, it depends on the session, on the problem you're having or whatever, but it depends because sometimes you go into a deep relationship trouble you have, and you write it down and you cry in the writing and you shout in the writing and you kind of let it come out as it is. And from there, you continue writing and you open yourself up for listening. Like, that's the question that you are posing to the universe, because that's a dialogue with the universe. That's journaling. Really. I put myself into the situation, and then I listen. And then I write what I listen. And this has to do with a very specific intention that is very kind of simple if you put it like ask, listen, and write. You do all your catharsis first in the writing if you want to. And from there, you can elaborate the question to the universe. And you are asking specifically something to the universe, and then you listen. And so you go into the meditation and go in the contemplating, you let yourself feel yourself. And from there, you are going to start hearing words that you will write and that are a direct answer to what you posed yourself into first. This is an intention and a totally and trust that what you're doing is exactly that, a dialogue with the universe. And you are part of it, because the universe is not out there. You are the universe. And so it's a way to step into it and open the doors for an extended and more expanded dialogue with the universe.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So it's not just about writing just whatever's on your mind, although that can be valuable. It's not just writing words, it's not just writing the ideas, but kind of getting in touch with this the universe, getting into a dialogue with it, listening for what it wants to say to you or what it wants to say through you. I really like that kind of description of the different phases that you mentioned there. One thing
The
that you
bridge
touched,
of
oh, go
golden
ahead.
light. It's a bridge of golden light.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the bridging the what the universe wants to say through onto
Exactly.
the page. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
Now we are kind of coming the whole circle, because at the beginning, well, what's a bridge of light? Look at that. We went all through, and I continue to find the same thing. Oh my God, it's a bridge of golden light, you know?
Mm. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, no,
Mm-hmm.
not at all. In your answer, you brought up the idea of journaling about a kind of troubling relationship, for example. And one theme in your book is kind of these karmic qualities of certain relationships you've had, especially in your family relationships. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what you've learned about the karmic nature of relationships. Why do certain relationships and sometimes difficult relationships come into our lives, and what is trying to be worked out through those relationships, and when does that kind of karma or tension get resolved in relationships? I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what you've learned through those processes.
Well, yes, that's another huge question, and we can
Hmm.
do, I think, like 10 podcasts about
Yeah.
that. Each one of the relationships. But to one of the important things in the book is that in the period that I was starting the introduction, finally putting together my 30 of journaling and spiritual writing and blending and channeling and all my storytelling and all the things, because I was looking into my life and kind of saying, what am I going to do with all of this, and how am I going to put it in a book? I mean, how I'm going to do that? I was doing that. My mother dies.
Hmm.
And so that was at the point when she died, we were very close, something that we never were before. And I was really, really angry when that happened, because I said, oh my God, now that we are finally friends, and she was really declining. But I said, oh my God, I would have liked a little more of this, because I have spent a lot of my life of even at the very beginning, like the psychoanalysis, the therapy, the this, the that, and the other, because it was a very difficult relationship with my mom, with my dad, with my sister, with everybody. It was karmically like, yes, I know that you choose the family you come into this world, but I was kind of, what was I thinking, you know? I mean, to come into this family. And so much of my life has been spent in understanding what was I thinking, you know? And so, and how the basic relationships in your life of your family kind of determine a lot and that you kind of unfold and disentangle the karma of those original relationships in your life. And that's part of the thing I feel that everybody has to do, in a sense. We disentangle all of that so that we can find ourselves. And so that's the thing with relationships. For the first 6 months after my mother died, I couldn't write. I mean, I was totally and paralyzed by the grief, the pain, the anger. I was totally devastated. And so I said, oh my God, I needed to do a workshop to reconnect with the original intention of writing the book. And it was my ultimate bridge of light I was building, because it's exactly writing and accepting and going through the grief and publishing the book and finishing the book and looking into my life from there. What helped me to go through the grief and to establish another kind of relationship with my mom from beyond. And so that's so important to me, because that was the main relationship at the time, and solve that. And so that has helped me a lot to write the book and be able to build a bridge with her now. And so the grief is still there, but it has another, it doesn't paralyzes me. It is an inspiration and a way to actually go on. And I am already writing a second book from there, that it's called Heaven on Earth, the in-between, we are always home. And so that's another surprise that's coming later. I don't know when, but later. And one of the best things about relationships I can kind of advise or help you with is go into the difficulty and the shadows of relationships. Being a bridge of light means to shower light in your more profound, deep, and darker shadows, and to love them as they are, because they are part of you. And the way to integrate them and to do that work, and that for that, relationships are really the point, in the sense that relationships are mirrors for you, and they have cycles that are supposed to be lived with that person to learn specific lessons in this kind of school called planet Earth and life as a human, but this is very complex and not easy to be a human. And nowadays, more still, because these are difficult times. And relationships, if you really allow yourself to deepen in them, there is not a good or a bad or a right or a wrong way to do anything. It's just to allow yourself to live and experience each relationship that can be the one of one day, the one of a month, the one of 3 years, the one of a whole lifetime. It doesn't matter, but with the presence of heart that allows you to listen and learn the lesson of that relationship. Because there is a lesson in each one of them, more than one lesson. And so go into it. And there you can use, I mean, there are so many tools nowadays of going into that. I work it with energy, and I do the energy psychology, but there are even shamanic work, whatever work you can do for yourself that fits better for you to be able to process and to integrate whatever lesson that is going on in each of the relationships you have in your life.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
kind of the
Sorry, go ahead.
material of, sorry, yes.
Yeah, I was just I really like that idea of kind of listening for um what the lesson is behind that relationship, if it's a difficulty, or even if it's just seeing why, like you said, they're mirrors, and you could say, why is this relationship, or why is this person um kind of being presented to me at this time. So that's it goes back to that idea of listening, like you said, with journaling. Um, so I really like that kind of practice that you're mentioning.
Yes, it's a practice because it's learning that whoever is present in your life is not by chance.
Mm,
It's really the universe talking to you through the other person, because everything is the universe talking to you, and you need to listen.
mm,
So I think that's the basic message of the book
mm,
and of this conversation, I guess.
yeah. Um, for our last question, I was wondering if you could tell us about some of the most effective spiritual practices that you found in your path. Like you're mentioning, there's so many different spiritual practices these days. But what have you found for yourself to be most effective, both in the past and now?
Yeah, for myself, meditation is the basics. And so that's one very important foundation for whatever. That's very important, the meditation part of it. Then the contemplation. And the contemplation, and I put it hand by hand with the spiritual journaling as a practice. Contemplation and spiritual journaling as a practice. So important and so necessary every day, even if it's only 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day, but every day, meditation and spiritual journaling every day, from the intention and from the connection with the divine, establishing that you are talking to the divine from there every day. And so those are the basic. And there's a third one that has to do with this, another bridge of golden light, that is somatic work that I discovered that is something that it needs to have an important space in your life because the body talks, and you need to learn to listen to the body in a free and spacious way that allows you to process feelings, emotions that are stuck in the body. The somatic work allows you to help in your awakening process. And so those are the three basics: meditation, contemplation, and spiritual journey, and somatic work.
Wonderful. Yeah, I've done a little bit of work with somatic work, but also with meditation and journaling. So I agree those can be really helpful practices. And thanks for sharing your experience with them. So thank you, Adriana, for coming on the podcast, for telling us about your work and your many different aspects of your spiritual life. So if people are interested in checking out your work, how can they do that? I'll have a link to your book in the video notes. And also if people want to get in touch with you for one-on-one sessions, any other projects that you're working on that you'd like to tell the audience about?
For the email, an email, you can send me an email. And for now, because I am working on my website, I am working to finish the card deck that's soon to be released. And so we are going to be able to have that. I'll tell you when that is done so that they know. But for now, if you want to get in touch with me through the email, please. And so because I'm kind of in the last phases of the web thing building and all of that. And so thank you very, very much, Ravi. I really enjoyed this. I could talk forever about this, and I feel so happy that we can create some interest in this kind of work. And I congratulate you of the efforts you're doing and your writing too, that I love. And so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Adriana. And wonderful. We'll have all the links to those things that we discussed in the video notes if people want to get in touch and check out your work. So
Yes,
yeah, thanks again for coming on, and yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day.
thank you. Thank you to you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.